Do you remember the old Andrew Tate website? The old Andrew Tate website had him selling courses about mind controlling women, how to groom them, and then entice them to sort of come to your dwelling, and then you do a number on them and turn them out. And it's like, he used to give what were pimping lessons. Now it's like, I could give you a pimping lesson, right? I give you a pimping lesson, I can explain how it works better than he can. But you, 17 or 18, you're a 19 or 20-year-old kid who's watching this video, you don't need pimping advice. You don't need advice how to win, because advice from Andrew Tate, right, is worthless to you. Why? Because you're not him. He's a pimp. So it's like, well, why don't you just do what I do? And this is what I do. I'm a pimp. So what he's actually doing is, he's taking naive people, giving them some advice of how to basically get themselves into the company of dangerous women, and then not be able to handle them because, hey, you're not a pimp. He is. What does that mean? It means they know to keep their fucking mouths shut around him. That's what it means. He's a pimp. So it's like the pimp's advice doesn't work so well when it makes its way out onto the street, when the guy who's gonna try and play the game plays the game. And the sort of women who he's going to get into the same sort of sphere as, they look at him and they go, oh, you're a player, are you? A meme that went around based on the old Marilyn Monroe. It's like, if you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me when I've got $60. And you know what? In the world, there be bottom feeder women who'll be your best friend for $60. It's like he's feeding young men to the monsters of the swamp with his advice. So it's like, once you know things like that, because it has to be said, he's got all the relevant knowledge and practical abilities of a pimp, right? Understands the chemistry of it, knows how it works, but it's a matter of, it's the fuel he runs on. So I get that. I looked at his old website, I read all his boasts, I didn't pay the hundreds and thousands he wanted to be allowed to watch his videos on the subject. But kind of know something about it anyway. I'm from the University of Greater Manchester. Know a trick or two. Know a thing or two about that game. As a non-player. Huh. He's, you know, they say a wolf in sheep's clothing. He's worse than that. He's a wolf in shepherd's clothing. That's what he is. So, it's been known to me for a year or two that, you know, who this character is, what he's about, and how dangerous he is. And then you have to be, well, I looked at his material at the time when there wasn't that much of him around on the internet. He'd not started broadcasting the way that he did. But he was someone who was selling these exclusive online courses and selling this lifestyle. He was at the beginning of the grift. And it's like at the beginning of the grift was a bit different. And he was just like, this kind of activity you're up to, you wouldn't have to go, you wouldn't have to be the smartest cop in the world if you were in one place, say he lived in London or something, to get the wind off him by way of what he was selling. If he was what he was saying he was in order to sell his product, he's a pimp. And it's like, those people have got certain tastes, they've got certain habits. It's like, you won't have to look very far to find him up to no good. And in with all kinds of fucked up people. So where someone who built himself notoriety with tricks like, getting yourself photographed by paying the extra 50 quid to go to the drinks and meet and greet after the speech or the, reception. Get yourself in a few photographs with a few people that people have heard of. Look, I spend time with all these successful people and they're like, who the fuck are you? So I've got an honest photograph from about 22 years ago, myself and David Beckham. And it'd be like, David Beckham is not a friend of mine. It's like I met him, spoke to him for about 3 minutes or something. Nice lad, liked him. And I got my picture taken with him. But that picture's actually a more honest picture than Andrew Tate stood next to Peterson's daughter and stuff like that. It's a more genuine picture than that. And it would be like, why, John? It's like, well, I was there for honest reasons. There was a reason why I was there in the company of this very important person. I was being rewarded. I was being rewarded for my hard work, turning up at 8 o'clock every day. It was corporate hospitality. People might look on that as it being a bribe. Kind of is. But it's an honest one. Yeah, it's an incentive. I was given a reward for my good work. Got to meet a celebrity. Get me a picture taken with him. And years later I can put this picture up and say, hey, look, you think it's a big deal that these influencer guys are getting around and they're getting, it's like, do you know how easy it is or how happenstance it can be just to appear in a photograph or something? Number of fucking scammers who do that because there's dumb people who see you in a photograph of someone and think, hey, they must know each other. How have they ended up in the same room? Because they're just dumb. And it depends how you sell it. So there was one the other day and someone were calling Beckham. He's not a smart guy, Beckham, but he's one of them where he has earned the right to be nice. He's one of them guys. It's like things are all right for me, so I've got every reason in the world to be a kind person to you. A bit simple in that regard, right? But honest. He's a nice lad, David Beckham. Like he's a nice guy. It's like he's a nice guy, so doesn't know so much, and then he could have been. He's been seen as attached to because he hasn't even got a voice. He's sold out. He's sold everything, David Beckham, hasn't he? He's sold out everything. He's sold out his smile. He's sold out his talent. He's sold out his looks. He's sold every product in the world, and it's a matter of, well, he doesn't really belong to him anymore. He can't really be anyone now because he's sold everything, and it has him. He's come out with something a bit woke or a bit green, and it's like I knew he was. Someone leaves a little comment up on that Twitter. I knew he was one of them. So I just posted up the picture from 20 years ago, me and David Beckham. And said, "Don't worry, mate. I got to him a long time before they did." And obviously it's a joke, but it's the same joke as these influencers players to say, I got next to this famous guy. Like Tate is a pimp, a hustler, a good one, a dangerous one. It's like there are those in the world who are wary of him, right? Wary, afraid. And they're like, he's capable of anything. What? Yeah, because he will pay dickheads to do you harm. He got ratioed off by, the Greta Thunberg thing. He got ratioed a bit on that Twitter. And he went on the internet yesterday saying that the global elite had ratioed him with bot farms. And it's like, you are one of the progenitors of the bot farm. It's like you didn't suddenly become very big on that TikTok and the like until you got thousands of people actively botting for you. Thousands of people. And it's like, I knew quite a bit about this fella. I'd been told about him before he became this public figure. And I don't know, all kinds of things passed towards me. It's like, hey, have a look at this. It's like, this guy's going to get locked up. It's only a matter of time. I'll be like, are they going to rise him up before they let him fall and use him make an example of him and use him as a scapegoat and basically have him Judas goat all these people on the right? And it's like, yes, that's what they went for. So I'm sat there and I'm weighing this up and I'm just watching it tick down as to where this guy's so dumb and so fucking obvious, and you just paint a target on his head and people look at him and say, of what use could this guy be? And he's a Judas goat. He's going to lead a lot of people into temptation and feed them to the whores. Feed them to the screaming banshees of Babylon. That's what he's going to do. He's going to suggest to them all they get themselves in trouble with women they can't handle thinking they fucking can. A recipe for murder. A recipe for misery. So it's like, they're going to let him go, they're going to let him move up. So I make a few inquiries. I'm like, right, this guy was a joke who caused internet problems and in real life had been networking and rubbed some people up the wrong way. Pissed on a few people's chips. Alarmed some people. As to, who have we found ourselves in the company of? This man's a fucking monster. So he starts to sort of move up these ratings and rankings, and it's like, how does this work? So I make a few inquiries, and one of my old mates comes back to me and says, oh yeah, it's like we've had a look at this, we've weighed it up, he got to talking. He's one of these people he's on the internet all the time, rich kid, internet all the time. Well, I'm on the internet all the time, but I'm a poor kid. But he's someone who sits with the circle around him in the voice chat all day. So he's sat talking to his pals all day. So I put it to him, I'm like, how's he moved up them ratings so quickly? Puts the word around, comes back and says, yeah, he's learned how to game the TikTok algorithm. And it's like, because it's like you only have to just win the race by a few to get to the top. So it's like he's got thousands of people working for him for free, cutting up his videos and reposting them. He's instructing them to do so. And it's like he's managed to work out how to overload the system, how to bring the shields down by overloading them. It's like he has got an active army of thousands of people who are doing this for him. Just a few, and you'd be surprised how few it takes when they're dedicated and they're willing to spend a fucking day doing it. Working for free. Talks about the global elite have ratioed him and he has an army of fucking idiots working for free to push him up the rankings. It's like attention harvesting. And he'd just been in trouble. He got picked up off the police in Romania. Some very grave charges against him. And also, a reality that they're not going to speak of today is that the United States government reached out and was able to snatch him in Romania. A phone call to a guy who works for the government actually was able to bring down muscle on that guy in another country. So he was fucked then. And it's like, go back to the old video, I talked about it, that Andrew Tate back then. So it's like, he's fucked. because now the local authorities are on to him and they're getting pressure placed upon them to do something about it in view of the fact that there's so many people around who've got stories to tell about him. They're all jealous ex-girlfriends. They've all got stories to tell about him. And there's pressure on them to do something because the fucking US government got involved in it. So way back when, I'm saying he's going to likely try and now build his profile. So when he eventually gets arrested, he can make it about something else. Because he's so important being the centre of the universe. It's like narcissism. It's like it's gone too far out of control. But the main weakness of the system is dumbass in the middle of it. He's the weakness. It's like just sit back and wait for him to pop off. So, was it a couple of days ago? Now he's got back on the Twitter. And he's making all these pronouncements about being like the fucking G. Like I am that, you know, the power. By the power of fucking Grayskull. He's the guy, you know what I mean? He's the top guy in the world. He's the wizard. It's like, nah, you're not the wizard. I am. Well, if you're a wizard, so am I. Sat waiting for something to just drop. And it's like, he's getting worse now. Have you seen how he's pushing himself now on Twitter where he's fucking likely full of fucking coke? I'm the top G, I'm the best, I'm the most eligible man in the world, and it's like, all right, okay. So he makes what is like a video to try to troll Greta Thunberg. This is what G does, right? He wants to troll Greta Thunberg. He ain't got a fucking clue she is. And neither have I. None of us have. We don't know who she is. She's an act. That's an empty vessel. Isn't it? Use your mind and think, Greta. You think she's an empty vessel who carries somebody else's words. So, I think if you don't have a fucking clue who someone is, and you just imagine them as an empty vessel and you look to project onto them, when your sort of attack is crass and deliberately rude and insulting and you get insulted back, right? And you can't handle that. You get insulted back. The right response when Greta fired back at his video, because he wanted the drama, you see. He wanted the drama. He wanted, oh, I'm going to start a big spot here. I'm going to mock this little girl. He clout chasing Greta Thunberg. Bad target selection. Dumb. Bad target selection. Why? Because she has the sympathy of the fucking haters. When they feel that, love in their heart, everything that comes out of their mouths is fucking rage. The bleeding hearts all love Greta and they all fucking hate you. Although they hate just as a matter of course, but you're on the list. So when she fires back with an equally insulting and childish response, he goes fucking nuts. He ends up like on Twitter for like 9 and 10 hours. I watched this stream about it last night. There was a lad who'd been the first to make a video, and it's like, I don't usually talk about shit like this, but I've been watching this all day and I've been breaking my ass laughing. So I've decided to catalogue all what's been going on. And it's like, Greta Thunberg mail bombed him, right? Mail bombed him. And then over the day, he's just went and got more and more and more and more mental and started thinking and 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 thinking of a clever way of coming back. And melted down into just what in the end was like really like paranoid hyperbole that the global elite had conspired to ratio his tweet. It was hilarious. It's like, this is funny. It's like this guy's actually finally snapped. And it took, right, this is how fucking weak he was. Right, when I put it to you, it's like he has to carry a lot of burden, that guy. Because there's so many people in the world who've got it in for him and want him dead. It's like there's no one in the world who's got a real, genuine reason to want me dead. There's people in the world who've got a genuine reason to want him dead. Look what you did to my sister. Look what you did to my wife. Look what you did to my girlfriend. Look what you did to my daughter. Look what you did to my cousin. Look what you did to my sweetheart. There's people in the world who've got it in for him. And it's like, that's part of the job. It's like, if you can be a pimp, you can manage that. That's the job. Managing that. And it's like, they always come unstuck when they can't manage that anymore. And in this case, it looks like the nudge that has sent him into fucking La La Land, paranoid, deluded La La Land. He's in paranoid, deluded La La Land, saying that the elites have conspired against me to ratio my tweet, right? At the same time as being the G, the man. He knows. He who's got a plan. He who understands. He who leads. He who fights. The top man in the world says to himself, the G. Well, the G doesn't pick on little girls and then get fucking blown out of the water and then sit there for 10 hours waiting for a response. And then get arrested. Sex trafficking and money laundering. And it be. Do you remember that happened last year? This is part of the same storm. But he didn't have so many people following his antics. Then, maybe an audience of 10,000 people for Andrew Tate when he last got arrested. The people who'd be like either following him out of love or hate and then suddenly bang. It's like, I'm going to peer pressure my way out of a rape charge. I'm going to influence my way out of a pimping rap. I'm going to bullshit and brag my way out of a big fraud charge. Who fucking thinks like that? It's like, well, he does. He's been allowed to get away with it. This stage of game, you fall on side with him, it's because you're fucking gullible. He's a shit-pied piper. In fact, I won't say he's a shit-pied piper. I'll say he's the most dangerous one so far. The most dangerous pied piper so far. His audience are 14 and 15-year-olds. They talk about him at school. He knows that. And shit in his head's thinking, in 10 years' time, they'll fight for me. What? What's it all about? It's a G. You know what I mean? He's the guy, isn't he? He sets himself as the goal of the highest aspiration, like he's discovered the final archetype. This is what you need to be. If everyone was like me, the world would be a better place. And it's like, no, if everyone was like you, the world would be destroyed. Because there'd be no one left to torture. It's one great scam pyramid scheme of fucking psycho fucking bullies. Can't fucking handle women properly, so I have to like lay down the law. I understand it. There's a lot of it around. There's plenty of hurt in the world for there to be plenty of blame going on. But harnessing that, making it about something else, messing with the energies, it's like that's fucking witch skullduggery. That's part of being the G2, isn't it? Alchemy. Let's turn one thing into something else that better suits us. So, the police come to pick him up for what is the old crime that they released him for last time. But he's going to be called something different. And then a whole host of people jump on that Twitter and say, what about Ghislaine Maxwell? They immediately defend him. And then there's loads of these blue check marks. Well, that's what you get when you speak out against. It's like, no, he only recently started to speak out against it, really. What? Yes, it's only since he last got arrested that he went on his media blitz in order to attempt to get big enough to be above the fucking law. And it was never going to work, but you were never going to stop him because he's a fantasist. It's like, this guy's had charges coming for all the time he's been talking to people like Piers Morgan. All of it, all this recent shit where he's been acting the goat. That's the goat, right? The goat. The greatest of all time, right? Whoever decided that was a thing wasn't from round here, because acting the goat means something much different. It means being awkward and stubborn and fucking stupid all at the same time. Acting the goat. Or and greedy. Acting the goat. No one would, I tell you, no one for 100 miles in every direction of here would ever suffer for being referred to as the goat. What are you trying to say, dickhead? Says you. Stop acting goat. So, this morning, Greta jumps on Twitter and types in, "This is what happens when you don't recycle your pizza boxes." Boom. From her point of view, she just fired back a childish insult, right? She got insulted in a childish way. It might even be just the people who run her Twitter. Who knows? The ghost of Greta Thunberg wiped the floor with the Pimp. Now, you see, the G is supposed to be highly resistant to imaginary or magical attack. Why? Because God protects him from them. Excuse me? Yeah, he's got the armour of God and the guidance of the angels. Excuse me? Well, he says he's a G. Throws out the signs and the signals so those who know recognise that he's the boss. So, lesson magic from a little girl who is an empty vessel as far as we don't know. So Sun Tzu would say, do not pick a fight with that person. And it's like, why? And it's like, know thy enemy. We haven't a clue she is. We haven't a clue who... We haven't a clue who accesses her account. Maybe she does. And it not be beyond her to just... like fuck you in a text, because it's easy. Anyone can do it. And the weight of that kind of insult, right, is measured by this Greta Thunberg, this blue check mark, 5.4 million followers. So suddenly that's got weight, and the weight of her words. She sends that back. Let's just say she sent that back, and then there was someone speculating to say it's like if someone bigger, right, big, follows you, if you're a status of Twitter, you get a notification or an email sent to your phone saying you just got handed by Andrew Tate and he's got like 3 million followers. So she actually gets it in her face that he sent her this video, and it's just a piece of shit. It's an unhinged piece of shit, that video he made to mock her. It's cringe. It's like, this is psycho, this is so unbelievably narcissistic up one's ass. It's like Trump, when he used to do things with gold everywhere, right? People would be like, is there something wrong with this guy? It's like, it made Trump seem classy, that video he put out. It made Trump seem classy. Cringe video, she responds, and let's just say she doesn't get another email. So she carries on doing her day thing, which will be like, you know, talking to black kids and things like that. That's what she'll be doing. She'll be doing some, she'll be at some function somewhere, being, what's the word? Condescending to minorities. That's what she'd be doing. So, see, I'm doing it now. But see, my imaginary Greta's not a threat. Until you provoke. So she does her thing. She has a vegetarian lunch. She gets to meet all the local celebrities, and everyone plays nice. And then she comes home and she gets back on that Twitter, and she's got thousands of notifications and mentions. What the fuck? She went off doing her minority bollocks, right? And he sat at home going fucking mental. It's like, oh, someone's actually inadvertently taken him out with magic. What? Yeah, inadvertently taking him out with magic. What? Yeah. And he'd be, his identity, what he is, he only exists in his mind. What do you think it is to be the G? What do you think it is to be the G, mate? You're larger than life, so you've got a light body. You've got a big ego. Ha! Sits there all day thinking, how do I come back? Overthinks it too. She gave me her real email address. And why has she got an email address to call it Little Dick Energy? And it's like, you got that from that in order to try to weaponize it when basically you've just been told to go fuck yourself. You've taken it literally the longer you've thought about it. And then out comes the dumbass. You see the black and white thinking that drives this guy to despair and has him slapping women about. Ha! Because they are dumb as shit. He couldn't handle having picked a fight with a little girl. He was unable to emotionally in himself, in his way he conducts himself, able to take that and handle that. He saw that as a deep wound. Spent all day getting mental and then spent all night in jail. Only a matter of time. He was only kidding himself. He wasn't going to jail for what was already in the mix. I have followed this guy because he was brought to my attention a long time ago, and I'm like, this guy will eventually just get arrested and go to jail and sit there talking bullshit about being in the SAS and things like that with the rest of the fucking loonies in prison for the next 10 years when someone eventually just does him for one of the many things he's up to. And you can see it coming because he's flash. He makes the job easy for him. And then the illusion of justice can take place when he eventually goes to jail because everyone's heard of this fucking criminal. Where the things that he's up to, normally, they don't really report on people who are street fucking pimps. Not so much media attention for those guys. Why? Well, people start to ask who they might have kept company with. It's bad for everyone when pimps start talking. Because all they've got on everyone is they know what their secret fucking fetishes and addictions are. And have got an unlimited ability to blackmail and capability of blackmailing anyone they've got any kind of goods on. So the worst thing you could have ever done if you wanted a public life would have been to share a line of coke with Andrew Tate. Own you. He's a pimp. Pimps, right? They sell sex to men. Duh. They sell sex to men. Understand that they're selling a drug. Understanding that this drug is a different drug because there are 1,000, 1 million, 1 billion different flavours of this drug. He's a pimp. So it's like if I could have I won my bet on the FA Cup. The World Cup. I bet on Argentina, but I've been in the past a bad one for gambling. So these days when I do it sensibly. So I had £5 on Argentina to win the World Cup, and I won. Gambling. Ha. I could go on forever about the machinations of what it is to be that creature, of just the stories one could tell. I wonder what his worst day ever at gambling's been. I wonder what his worst day ever gambling has been, because that's what the guy is too. A professional gambler. And in the end, he'd run out of places to hide and there were too many people on his case. So what did he do? Decided to manipulate the system to make himself infamous. And then a load of boisterous babies are giving it this. And a lot of bloody stupid women on the right. I like him. He tells me what I want to hear. And it'd be, well, he is a pimp. I'm just looking forward to the next set of lies, but it's like the lie of 2022 is you're too stupid to understand. The insult to the intelligence as the answer to as the response to the valid objection has become just about the normal thing from liars and cheats and scammers this year. It's too complicated for you. It's too complicated for you to understand. That's the lie.